There we go. Sorry about that. I was trying to log in and it kept logging me into my work account. Um, I was like, this is the wrong account. Let me spotlight. Okay, there we go. So I had to log out of the Zoom app that's on my actual computer in order to switch the account. So there we go. All right. Sorry. Monday morning. All right. What happened, Maple? Maple is tapping my elbow. What's up, buddy? What happened? All right. Let's get this. And that's indigo going off right now. All right. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Oh, come on, buddy. Stop, stop, stop. Okay. Hi, Terry. The gallery view only shows one person. I think that when you go up to view, um, then it should, because I think it would show speaker gallery. It might be on a different setting. And then it would show everyone. Let me see here. Hello, Texas, frigid. Oh gosh. Oh no, Indiana too. I'm so sorry to hear that. It's been really chilly here. Um, Yesterday we had a little bit of a break. It was in the 50s. It was like 52, 53, so it wasn't too bad. It's 48 right now. Um, so it's getting there. It's getting there. I changed my curtains. We changed them out over the weekend. I had these kind of palm uh, leaf curtains for a while now, and we switched them out to this white. Um, there's like some eucalyptus leaves on top, and then but the main parts are white, and I just feel like it's so much brighter in here. I think because the with the palm leaves on the curtains, it kind of darkened it up a little bit in that corner, and it just feels so much brighter right now. So I feel like I'm getting hit by a ray of light right now. Um, yeah, we were literally because it was still dark when because we did it yesterday. Yeah, we did it yesterday, and it was starting to get dark. So it's our first time actually seeing how bright it is, and I'm like, yep, that's bright. That's bright. Um, oh my gosh, in Colorado, it's -6. Holy moly. Jeez, so sorry. Yeah, it's super, super cold. Um, if any of you have your plants by the window, I had to do that too, is move a lot of my plants that were by my windows just a few inches away from the actual glass as well. So they can get basically burned by the glass. So if you have leaves that are kind of propped up against the window's glass, because it might feel like, oh yeah, but my house is warm and I don't have any drafts through my window, totally fine, my plants are totally fine. But if they're actually up against the glass, that can get incredibly cold, and that can actually damage any parts that are coming in physical contact with it. So just be wary of that. Oh my gosh. In Toronto too, it is very, 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 very cold. Um, yeah, absolutely. Oh, Judy says go cheese. Um, yeah, it's super cold. All right, so let's start this off. Good morning, everyone, of course, and good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're tuning in from. Um, I did post a picture of, I wanted to show you these two books that I just got. I did post a picture on the Facebook group of this book, but in case for those of you who are not on Facebook, I just want to make sure you saw it because it's a great reference book. I highly recommend it. I've been thumbing through it now these last couple days, and it's a treasure trove of information. Now it's very concise. It's not, the plants aren't dedicated a whole page in the book. There's about like 2 to 3 plants on a page. Let me see here. There's a whole part on like the parts of the plant, geography of a plant. Here we go. So it's the encyclopedia of wildflowers, but it's international. So there's over 1,700 species in just one book. So absolutely gorgeous. So as you can see, there's like a little paragraph. There's a couple things. So it tells you about their native range, their physical characteristics, like their identification characteristics, how they are pollinated. So are they wind pollinated? Is it, do they need like an insect or some type of like a bat? Like some species of flower can only be pollinated by bats, for instance, or others only beetles, things like that. So their habitat, in like just specific indicators, things about their roots, about their flowers, about their leaves. And there's like a little paragraph that kind of tells you when they bloom or just some fun facts. But they have each of them have some really great drawings. There are a few that have photographs, but they actually have like close-ups of the seed, the flower, the leaf, the seed pod in certain cases. But absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous book. It's a really nice reference guide, so I wanted to make sure to share it with everyone. I got it used, and it was like $12 or $13. I got it used. If you can find it used, all the better. I mean, it looks great. It's not even scuffed up or anything. So a lot of my books I get used. Highly recommend if you're into reference books, which I am personally into into reference books. So I had to add this one to my shelf. And then another book that I got. Now, this is available as open source. I believe it's also in the Gutenberg library. Let me see. I have the link, so I'll let me just make sure I write her name right in my notes, because then it'll pop up where I have her. So last name is Northcote, C-O-T-E. So hold on, here we go. Book of Herbs. Where was it in here? So where is that link? But yes, they, give me 2 seconds and I'll pull that link up for you. But it is open source and available if you wanted to just check out the PDF. There we go. It's on Gutenberg. And then I will pull up the link. I'll drop it in the chat. So if you want the PDF version, it's readily available. If you can find the physical copy, it's just very interesting. Again, yet another reference book. There we go, which I highly recommend. And it's called The Book of Herb Lore. So this was really cool. It breaks down books. in terms of different types of uses, so how a lot of plants were used in the past, how herbs are used at the present time. Now, this was published in 1903. So my favorite thing about these old books are one, the uses of old names for the plants. I love that. For the last couple years, I've been building a database. It's almost close to finally start releasing some of it. So hopefully, what are you doing, Maple? Maple's hopping up on here. And I've been putting together this kind of database of names for different plants from different languages. What are you doing, buddy? Sorry, Maple hopped up on here, so if you could see his tail. And so what I love is when I find old when I find old books and they have different names. So for instance, I have an old book where they refer to Angelica archangelica, which is an herb, angelica root, and it is they call it masterwort. So in the same passage, they're referring to it as Angelica archangelica, but then they talk about it as known as masterwort. And what was really interesting is then I had another book that kept talking about masterwort. And then with a little bit more research, I realized that that's what the person was talking about. And so I love it because then you end up kind of piecing things together. You're like, oh, I read this name in a different book. And you start to kind of see, you kind of start to see how these names kind of match together. It's super cool because common names, of course, can vary depending on the region. But my other favorite part is the references that they put at the end, because then this points me yet to other books, especially with these old books. So these books from the early 1900s, most of them are out of print, but most of them are also available for free. So you can get them off of things like archive.org or Gutenberg Press, things like that. So I like looking at these because then it kind of it leads me to yet another resource. So I love these. And with our database, what we're trying to do is also scan these into the database so that we have just kind of a running list of resources. So yeah, this one's really cool. I actually have a couple of these books already that were being referred to, so it's super cool. But yeah, so the Book of Herb Lore. So I dropped the link in the chat if anyone is interested in just checking out the PDF. But yeah, I like these types of reference books. I have quite a few. I'm trying to build a bunch of lists basically. So I have books on like plant history, how plants kind of came around the world, different types of folklore. And I'm just trying to kind of like kind of put that together. Some books that are just for the United States, some that are international. I try to go more for the international ones so that I can make the database just more useful. So I've been trying to find international kind of reference guides. Let me see here. So someone's asking for the publication date. I just want to show you the first page of the inside of the book is just absolutely beautiful. It is a very heavy book, so warning of that. Let's see. Publishing date. Publishing date. Oh, nope. Not on that page. This is pages are not. There we go. Nope. Says Lorenz Books. Where is the publishing date? Maybe in the back. Let's try to see the back. Publishers.
Jocelyn,
Oh, yep.
it's usually where the copyright information is.
Yes, it's not in the front, but it is
it's
in the
not.
back. So it says Ines Publishing 2020. There we go.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So 2020, this edition was published by Lawrence Books, an imprint of Ines Publishing in 2020. So it's in the back, but yeah. So definitely recommend that. Yeah, so I wanted to show you those. What other? Oh, and this real quick, something that I also picked up. I'm going to just take the top because I started working on it and I don't want to mess with the box because then any pieces that I put together are going to fall apart. And it's a very challenging puzzle. I just got this puzzle. And it's just a bunch of houseplant leaves. So we got some alocasias, there's the Marantaceae, there are calatheas, there's begonias, there are crotons, bromeliads, caladiums. What are we here? We got a schefflera, we got a pelia type of palm, maybe like a parlor palm. What else do we got? A stromanthi, croton, looks like a falsaralia, tradescantia. We got some ferns here, hypoestes. Let's see. This is the cissus. Let's see. The zebra plant. Peperomia, the watermelon peperomia. There's a lot of begonia leaves. Begonia. What else? This is like a syngonium back here. Another type of fern. Yeah, there's a bunch in here. It's proved very challenging just to start off. So I'm just bringing the top because in the bottom part I already started putting some of the leaves together, but it is not easy. I was at it for about 40 minutes and then I said, okay, I think I hit my threshold for now. And I moved on to another thing because yeah. Oh, and then the maidenhair fern right here. It's really beautiful. It is really beautiful. This I found on Amazon, but I did see it other places before. So I have seen it like at I think it was at Target or Walmart. I had seen it on their site, and then I didn't see it for a really long time. And then yeah, it popped up on my Amazon and it was on sale. So they reduced it to like $13.99, something like that. So I decided to grab it. But I don't know. I have no idea when this will be finished because it is very difficult. The pieces are very small. It's 1,000 pieces. So one day, one day I will finish it. But just wanted to show you because in case any of you are fellow fans of puzzles, then this is challenging. This is very challenging because some of these veins, especially these types of leaves that have that variegation splashing, these leaves that have these types of veins, especially these that have the splotches, it's very hard because they're just like a slight shade off and there's different shades within the leaf. It's so difficult to try to match them. But I love that they're so realistic. It's like actual like pictures. So for my fellow plant lovers that also like puzzles, you might enjoy that. Yes, Sue says, I hope the cats don't scatter the pieces. Exactly. That was that. Yes, yes, absolutely. That was my fear. Uh, Last week when I was on our session, Maple, I think it was, yeah, it was Maple, was like zooming around and he had broken a piece off of a Lego set that I had put together. And that's how he woke us up this morning. I heard something crashing. And he actually broke a big chunk of the tower off. So I have to rebuild that. um I didn't even gather up all the pieces. I tried to find all the pieces I could see, but I that wasn't all of them. So they exploded and I had to check under the couch and see where all these other pieces went, because I'm missing a whole section now of my tower. So um yeah, you can't have nice things with with cats. They're always doing something to it. Um, oh, Connie, thank you for sharing. So Connie shared a link to Hobby Lobby, where they have it for $16.99. And it's the Houseplant Jungle Puzzle. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, it's a gorgeous puzzle. So definitely, if this is something of interest, or you have a fellow plant lover in your life that is really into puzzles, they they might enjoy it. And Sue, I have a special puzzle board that folds over the puzzle. That's a great idea. I should definitely get something like that. Um, oh my God. Finn says I just finished the puzzle that said 4 to 6 years and I did it in one day. That's great. um, yeah, that one, yes, and that one's going to be hard. Absolutely, incredibly hard. Um, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I get a lot of these little like plant things, whether I add books to my collection or just fun plant things in general. Um, and so I like to share them just in case other folks might might find the joy in them as well. I actually do have quite a few games that um, are plant related, and so I can put together a list as well if anyone is interested in things like board games or card games. I have quite a few that are plant related. One I really recommend, especially if you are a educator, if you're working like a nature educator, or even just children in general, I think will enjoy it. But it's called Wildcraft. And so it's like a whole board game, and you have to, what's great is you're learning actually about medicinal plants. And so basically you're on like this mission to get to the top of this mountain and get back down. But you encounter things along the way, like bee stings and falls and things like that. And there's a pile of cards that you're pulling from that are medicinal plants that you encounter. And then you basically start to kind of build up your little apothecary. And it's like, all right, you got a bee sting. So what plant do you have in your cards that would help you with that? So basically, what can help you complete your mission? But in the process, you're learning about plants, you're learning about medicinal properties. It's such a cute game. Brian and I play it just with us, and it's super cute, but it's fun. It's a great board game. So and again, an excuse to always kind of refresh, or learn, if you're learning for the first time, some medicinal qualities of some very common species. So that I recommend, called Wildcraft. I'll drop the link real quick just in case. Wildcraft board game. But yeah. Oh, and it's available on Amazon. I bought it direct from the folks that made it. It's a website called Learning Herbs. But it looks like now it's available on Amazon. Really fun. So I do recommend it. Definitely check that out. All right. Cool. So yeah, so if anyone is interested in a list of like games that are planty, let me know. I'll put that together. Because I do have quite a few. And yeah, I can even just see from here. I have a bunch of like memory games and plant identification games. I think there's this one that I haven't opened yet. That's all about running like a florist shop. So there's fun ones like that. We have quite a few board games. So yeah, I can make a list. All right. So yeah, wanted to share that. What else did I want to share? Oh, so if any of you are propagating ZZ plants, you can propagate ZZ plants from basically like a little leaf cutting. Now, Brian had gotten a cutting of a variegated ZZ plant. Oh my gosh, like a year ago. Um, and it was not in a good place. The poor thing had been attacked by thrips. And so the leaves were highly damaged. And so that's why the seller actually gave it to him for like $5. He had bought other plants from the seller, and the seller was like, these are variegated, but they're kind of messed up. So I don't know, like if you want them, I'm just gonna sell them for $5. And so Brian actually got 2 of them. And so you have to be very, 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 very patient with ZZ cuttings, because they can take several months to actually grow for you. So they'll start to root, and once they start to root, they will start to produce a little rhizome, and so it looks like a little potato. So if anyone here has a ZZ plant, you've probably seen when you're repotting it, or if you've ever even just it starts to kind of grow so much that you start to see what looks like little potatoes at the base of the plant. And so that is the rhizome. So the leaves died of those cuttings, right? Because they serve no purpose anymore. The rhizome starts to kind of build, take in all that energy, put out roots, and then it starts to push out growth. So this one leaf cutting, so it's in this little thing. You can see the little rhizome, and you can see the roots right there. So I left the leaf because it kind of holds it up from kind of falling into the water. But the leaf isn't doing anything right now. But there's this little rhizome. I was telling Brian, it looks like a giant tick with these huge, has these really long roots like that. They're covered in fuzz. So it's been growing. And then this one, the leaves also done, but we're gonna have to cut. I realized this yesterday, so I was telling Brian, I was like, this is gonna be great to share. This is what happens when you put them into bottles that have a very narrow opening. So I did this because, again, I thought it would just be easier, because again, it'll keep it from kind of falling in. But now I didn't expect this to happen so quickly. So now I'm kind of in a predicament where I'm gonna have to cut the bottle open, because there's no way I can pull this out without damaging it. So cautionary tale. So this part of the ZZ plant died, right? It created a rhizome at the base, has the roots. It's been like this for months now. And mind you, this took like a year to even just get like roots and a rhizome. But just recently, so this is within the last 2 weeks, it sprouted a whole new, so here we go, a whole new stem. So this stalk, which one? Whoops. My Siri thinks that I'm talking to my watch right now. Sorry. So, um, so you can see the whole new stalk popped out. And so that is going to grow and open up and start to actually open up into leaves, but it can't do that in this little bottle. So um, I caught it early enough. So I'm going to have to cut this bottle so that I can free this little stalk before it opens up and then gets damaged. But this took a year. So you have to have a lot of patience. But look at those roots. Gorgeous, gorgeous roots, white, healthy, really nice and thick. Absolutely great. And this little ZZ plant. So I do have to free this because it can go very badly. Right now it's early enough, so I'll try to do it within the next couple days. Because if this thing kind of tries to shoot up and open up, those leaves are going to get all messed up. And I hope there is some variegation on it. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so we're gonna see. And then I actually got recently a cutting of ZZ. So this is literally only a couple days old. But this is how it starts. It's just, here we go, this little base cut. Pop them in. I have quite a couple of ZZs here in the house, but I just love propagating. So if I get any folks that share cuttings or anything, I don't mind repeats of the same species I have. But yeah, so I just put them like this, where they're just touching the water, so they're not completely inundated. And again, see, leaving those leaves like that kind of holds it up. So that's why I was kind of going for these kind of narrow bottles on top. But yeah, I have to just be a little bit faster to catch when things like that start happening. Because if I caught it when it was still small, I probably could have angled it out. But now I'm gonna have to, I have no choice but to destroy this bottle trying to open it. So we'll see how that happens. We'll see how that works. But yeah, ZZ plants, they're fun to propagate. They're really cool. You just have to have a lot of patience because it will take months for you to even see one root. I think on, gosh, I had one in like these. I had one also in water, got like 4 or 5 months before I even saw one root. So it looks like it's doing nothing for a very long time, and then once you see one root, it starts to explode. So patience. Um, oh, and George, yes. So uh, yes. So to kind of further explain that, yeah. So this was kind of a cutting right like from the base of the rhizome, so it had snapped off. So there we go. Now I have this little one, but you can do it from a leaf cutting. So just from, there we go, from that, you could cut right there. It's just a little bit harder. It might take a little bit longer. So if you have a little bit of a stem on your leaf, you might actually get roots and get it to grow. So it's better when you have a little bit of more of a stalk. Therefore is more energy kind of in that stalk for the plant. So I think these just work better. But you can indeed do just one leaf cutting, but you have to make sure you have some stem on it. Yeah, so you can do a leaf or a stem. Now, not all plants can do that with just the leaf. A few that you can propagate with just the leaf are things like well, some species of begonia, some species of peperomia, not all, but some species of peperomia, and yeah, and some species of begonia, where you can literally just cut the leaf up into sections and the leaves will actually root and start to grow. African violets as well. Those are the top 3 that are popping up into my mind right now. with other plants like Hoya, those common the sweetheart Hoyas. Let me turn it here. The Curii. Oh, this is actually a brand new leaf. This whole, whoops, here we go. This leaf here is brand new. It scared the crap out of me because this thing hasn't grown a new leaf in over a year. It's happy, but it just hasn't been growing. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I leave for Costa Rica. I come back and it had the leaf already half growing. I was like, of course it does it. And then now the leaf has come out. It's a beautiful heart shape. But these are sold just as leaf cuttings, usually around Valentine's Day. But if they don't have a node, they're just going to stay a leaf forever. If they have a node, then they can actually eventually grow into a vine. But this is a fun plant. This I literally water when it starts to get wrinkled. So sometimes that can be like every 3 weeks or so. It's a very succulent Hoya. And I really barely do anything for it. It's very just, it's very chill plant. So I like those. I like those. So yeah, it's happy like that. What year did the families get changed due to the DNA data? Oh, so in terms of the botanical conferences, yes, I believe they're every 7 years. I'm not sure when the last one was. But yes, it's like every 7 years. It's the International Botanical Council, I want to say. It's like a phenology. No, sorry, not, is it phenology? Oh, phylogeny. I think that's what it is. Phylogeny. Phylogeny symposium. It's like basically, yes, folks present DNA results and kind of arguments and papers and things like that, where they're kind of sharing like, hey, we did this new study. It turns out this plant is actually in this family, and so we're going to be changing it. And so they kind of use the conference to kind of deliver all of that information. But yeah, I think it's every 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I'm not sure when the last one was, but it is international. George, can you split the little potatoes of the ZZ? Absolutely, yes. So you can get multiple little potatoes and then you can separate them. Now, if you mean take one potato, kind of cut that into two, I've never tried that. Now, the way that rhizomes work, in theory, it could work. It could work. Other plants that have kind of rhizomes like that are things like ginger. So like ginger, for instance, it's a similar structure. I could cut it up and then have that sprout into different plants based on like the chunks. But I don't know. I mean, I've never tried to split an actual ZZ rhizome. So I'm not sure if that would work. But if you do have multiple rhizomes together, like a clump of little potatoes, you can, and they're kind of connected, you can separate them into different plants. So that you definitely can do. But yeah. Synth, I tried to get books that list the families after the change. Yes. Now, if you want the latest data, if you I showed this, I think either last week or the week before. If you want the latest data, this is currently the current basically breakdown of the global flora. So according to the well, the angiosperm family, so this is all plants that flower. And so this is the latest. And so there is a free poster online that you can download, and it looks like this. And it basically breaks down. So here you can see it's very tiny here, but what this little booklet does that you can buy is it kind of zooms in on that breakdown and shows you how these families are broken down in terms of like monocots, dicots, and breaks them up into the families that they currently exist in, according to the latest DNA research. So if you're looking for something that is the most up to date, this is the most up to date if you're looking for that. So aeroids are in here, things like that, begonias. So it just leads you to the main family. So it doesn't tell you then breaks down into all these types of begonias. It's more like, where do begonias fall in this tree? Like that. So it kind of just gets you there. So if that is of interest, you can, the global flora, if you say global flora PDF poster, it's free. So that's open source. You can download it. It's absolutely gorgeous. They're actual photos of the plants, of the flowers of the plants. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, this is witch hazel. I absolutely love witch hazel. We see it all the time here. I'm not sure if any folks are familiar with it. I just feel like it looks like a little firework when you see them on the trees, because this one's like really straight. But when you see them, when I've seen them on the trees, they're very squiggly. Like the petal itself is a little more squiggly, and it literally looks like there's just a bunch of little fireworks going off on the tree. Absolutely beautiful. So if some really cool ones. I've never seen these, so there are some really alien looking flowers in here that are definitely odd. But if you want the latest, so this is the latest, and that poster is free and available, so you can zoom in on those sections and read them for free if you wanted to. But if you want like an actual kind of like reference book thing, they do sell this, and it's available through different sellers, but the global flora poster page will direct you to the sellers, and it's like, I think this was like $14-15, something like that. So yeah, if in case that's helpful, if you're looking for the most latest data as to where how the families are currently placed in the phylogenetic tree. So if that's what you're checking for. So Jamie, I have a ZZ. It looked great and leafy, but the new shoot is really tall, all stem with a few leaves on top. Ooh, okay. So that could indicate if it's kind of, is it deeper in the plant? So it could be possible that it was kind of shaded from the rest of the plant. So if it's shooting up through kind of like the center or away from your window, it could have just kind of been trying to stretch out. So it ideolated a little bit. So that means it stretched a little bit.
It's right in the middle.
It's right in the middle. Yeah. So so that's what it could be. So it was kind of shaded out by the surrounding foliage or stalks. So what ends up happening is it kind of compensates a little bit by getting a little taller, so that it can get kind of like it's competing for light. So it's like, I'm gonna stretch and put my leaves at the very top, so I don't get shaded out by anyone. And also in an effort to find that light source. So that could have been it. Unfortunately, they don't sprout kind of leaves again at the base, but yeah, I mean, I have looking at my Raven ZZ, and the most recent stock did something similar. So it's like all stock here, and then it's 1, 2, there's only 3 leaves on the very tip. So it can happen, and they get full on light. The light is literally smack dab on them. So it's common. So don't worry.
Okay, thank you. I think that's what it is then. I'm glad it wasn't sick.
No. You're welcome. Yeah, no worries. It's very, very common. Oh, George is asking, what's the liquid in the bottle? Is it just water? Yep, it's just water. Just regular old water. This is just tap. This is just tap water. These have fish water, so water from our fish tanks. So I'm gonna wait till this actually gives me some roots before I give it fish water. A couple reasons for that. So one is I cleaned this thoroughly. I washed it, and then the little bottle, so that there's no bacteria. So therefore, I don't want to add something that might potentially have bacteria, like fish water, to it before there's even any roots, because it could colonize on the plant. I don't want that. Once it has roots, it can actually actively um, take nutrients, and it's kind of not just sitting there with an open wound. It's been sealed, the roots are growing. It's just like in a better place for me to give it some nourishment. So I'm waiting for that before I would put any fish water in like a fresh cutting. But yeah, these bottles, if anyone's wondering, like this was a shampoo shower gel bottle from a hotel stay. So anytime I find these like little bottles, this was a roller bottle for it was like a perfume thing. And like the top part, like the broke, and then I took out the little roller bottle part, and I said, this is a perfect thing for propagations. Same, this was also a squirt bottle, and the squirt part stopped working, and I thought, and I looked at the base and I said, this is perfect for propagations. So you start collecting little bottles like this, and they're perfect for propagations. Ooh, Donna C asks, I tried to propagate a ZZ stem, but the leaves started to turn yellow. What should I do? That's normal, absolutely normal. So for instance, these started turning yellow and then they died. And that's perfectly fine. So the base is still nice and chunky and healthy. It's with the roots, and now that energy is being redirected because now it doesn't have those leaves. So it redirected the energy into creating a new stalk, and that stalk is going to have leaves. So the leaves turning yellow is it's part of the process. So don't worry, as long as this is not rotting, like your stem is not mush, it's perfectly fine. You can let those leaves die. I left them on again because they just, they hold this up. But you don't worry about that. That's perfectly fine. Okay. And Jerry, help! I need your expertise in a plant ID. Yes. Sure thing. Let me see here. Let's see. Okay. Irene, how often do you change the water in those propagation bottles? Yes, great question. So, one, if I don't change them very often. So I don't change them very often. About every 2 to 3 weeks, I might give them like a quick rinse and kind of put them in there. If the water looks nice and clean, and it's, let's say it's been really hot, the heater's been on, and the water is really low, I might just top it off. So yeah, about every 2 to 3 weeks. Not very, very often. There are some cuttings that I sometimes don't change the water for many weeks. So, and they're fine. So, so sometimes it's okay to forget them, but the ones that I have by the window in my bathroom, they're right up against the window. It's a western window, and the problem in that with that propagation station is it's very prone to algae. So it starts to get that green tint, and so that means there's algae that's growing inside. and that competes for oxygen. So it steals nutrients and oxygen from the roots of the cutting. So if you see any tint of green, that one I do have to kind of stay on top of, because as soon as I start seeing the green, I have to take them out, thoroughly clean that bottle with hot water, a little bit of soap, and then I re-put the plant in there with fresh water. But yeah, so if you start seeing green in there, that means there's algae growing, and sometimes it doesn't affect if the plant is like established and living in water, but when you're starting off a cutting, and if it has like this active competition in there, yeah, it can be very detrimental. So don't worry about that. But Jerry, yes, let me spotlight you. Here we go. Oh, hold on. You're muted. Let me see.
Okay,
There we go.
okay. I hope you can identify this one.
Ooh.
There's a story behind it. It was just two little stems when I got it last August at Lowe's on their discount cart with 75 cents. And I put it in a pot. It's in a bulb pot, a 5-inch bulb pot. I used my own soil and put it in a sunny kitchen window. It's like a southeast kitchen window. And it just last week it started to bloom with these little white flowers on it with a yellow throat. So cute. I call it my honey, you know. And it didn't move last August. It didn't start until I guess the beginning of October, and then it started to grow, and it hasn't stopped since. And then the other night, when I got up in the morning, here was these little white flowers all over it. I don't know what you would call it. There's no name on it or anything. There wasn't even a plant label.
It's absolutely beautiful. I'm leaning towards a species of Thunbergia, maybe. Let me see if
Yeah, I'm trying to bring the flower right up close to so you can see it. It's
white
white,
with this yellow.
yellow throat in it.
Let's see. I'm leaning towards a species of Thunbergia.
Suburbia, okay.
Let me, we're gonna,
I'm in the dark here, so whatever you tell me is good enough for me.
let's do a little searching here. Okay, so I think it's a white, like a white Thunbergia, yeah, with yellow center. So I think it's a Thunbergia. So
Oh yeah, it is in the corner. Yeah.
so we're getting there. So here are different species of Thunbergias. So I was leaning toward Thunbergia, one, because it looks like it has 5 petals. And it has that
Yes, it does. It has 5 petals each flower.
So 5 petals, and it has that center point. And so Thunbergia, while some of them do have this dark center, there are some that have a light center, like a yellow or like a purple. These are kind of big, so I'm not sure if these would be it.
Yeah.
These are bigger.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I actually saw these purple ones in El Salvador and in Costa Rica, and they're like that big. So
here's one that looks very similar down here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like this?
Yeah.
This one?
Flowers on the vine.
So I'm leaning towards a Thunbergia, but
Wow. I didn't realize they had that many different colors.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Thunbergias absolutely they have some species with very tiny, very tiny flowers, and then those like really big flowers. The orange ones that you're seeing here, these were the first species of Thunbergia I had ever come in contact with. And absolutely beautiful. And I think the common name was Black Susan Vine.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. black-eyed Susan vine. There we go. Absolutely beautiful. It
Right.
could be that. Um,
You said
real
black-eyed Susie wine?
Oh, a black-eyed Susan vine. Mm-hmm. So that's these that have these dark centers with the yellow and
Oh,
the
okay.
orange. Um,
Well, mine is
yeah,
just a Symbergia, right? Was
yeah,
that-
Thunbergia. Um, but I'm not sure. I mean, I can keep looking, see if I have the footage, and so I can zoom in on the leaves, see if I can get you an accurate because I don't think a petunia has with a white and yellow center. I don't know if that. Now these are a little bit bigger. Petunias are much more like larger and showy,
Uh-huh.
but they have like this kind of flower shape with the 5 kind of petals there. But no, that's not it. So
Well, the
I'll look
plant
and I'll try to.
universe, the plant universe is just astounding. I mean, I'm awed by it, really. So many colors and shapes and amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. And if again, if any of you are really into just like flower shapes and just like if you want to just be in awe that this little like the poster, and again you can get the poster for free and just zoom in. So you don't have to get the booklet. The poster is absolutely free. But like just for you to see just the crazy shapes that some flowers take. If you just want to kind of be surprised, check that out because it definitely you look like it feels like you're looking at
I just
another.
wanted to say one more thing.
Yeah, of
You
course.
were talking about rhizomes. I've dealt with a lot of rhizomes because of gesneriads.
Uh-huh.
There's a ton of them. And what I found is that they grow quicker in soil than they do in water. And instead of standing them up, I lay them flat on the soil and just cover them. Plus, the rhizomes you can break off into little tiny, every one of them little slivers can make a plant if you want, and some of the rhizomes get to be that long, but I'm sure it's that way with just regular house plants that have rhizomes.
Yeah, there's definitely I know some because I've seen like gesneriads that have like those runner rhizomes.
Uh-huh,
And so it'll be like this, and then another plant will sprout up, and then
right.
yeah, those definitely you can when there's like even with just like little roots present, you can totally do that. So
After the plant flowers, and the flowers die back, I take the rhizomes out, put them in very, very light coating of either perlite or vermiculite and a mix, put them in the bag and let them rest for 2 or 3 months. And then take them out, put them on fresh soil, just about cover them, and it's amazing. In 2 weeks, they're already popping up. So they like a 2 or 3 month rest.
nice. I did not know that. That's awesome. I that's something I want to get more into. And if anyone out here has, any info like this, where because of one, I'm in an apartment, so I can only do so much, but with different species like that, where like bulbs are taken out of the soil and they're put to rest for a couple months, that's definitely something I want to learn even more about. Because I especially now that we're gonna start like putting things, and when we start construction in Costa Rica, I want to put some different types of plant life in there, and things like that. I definitely want to learn more about so that I can start doing that because it's been a while. It's been a while since I've done some outdoor gardening. So
Well, the
yeah.
biggest trick is if you're taking bulbs or rhizomes or anything out to give them a rest, you have to be very careful on how much moisture you put into them, you know. A lot of people just use regular sawdust or wood shavings. So whatever you think, I just use a little bit of a spray like that, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Because that's my fear is
If too much
trying to
water,
get that
they'll
moisture
rot.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll,
yes, exactly. Because I'm like, if this poor thing rots, because I do that with like our alocasia bulbs, but I don't take them out of the soil. I leave them in the soil because in the winter, some of our alocasias they drop their leaves and they go dormant. And so with plants that do that, what I do is I leave them in the soil mix that they're in. I continue to take care of them, kind of pull them aside from the window for the winter. And then in the spring, I start to kind of reintroduce them to the window and they start to come back alive. They sprout and they have leaves. And so, but I personally don't usually take them out of the soil. And so that's my fear is that if I take the, when I start taking things out of the soil, that they can one, either dehydrate super fast, or two, if I add a little too much moisture, I'm afraid that I'll just open up a bag and the poor thing is all rotted. Um, so, yes, that's definitely something I think it's also trial and error, but I'm like I don't want to kill a bunch of bulbs and rhizomes in my trials. So yeah, that's something definitely that I need to learn more about, and I'm always, please folks, share away, because yeah, that always share. But yes, I will try to see if I can narrow down that identification for you.
I
And
appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah, of course. So hopefully I can. Let me see here. Tanya is asking, how do I care for a saddened pothos, which isn't a pothos? Yes. Also, is it true that pothos prop water stimulates Monstera root prop? Those are great questions. Okay, so with the saddened pothos, right? So those are Scindapsus. So the whole reason they're called pothos is there used to be they I think they were actually, I might be inverting this, but I think that before they were considered like Epiprenum and was kind of in that Scindapsus family, and then but they had also been previously called pothos, which does exist. There are true pothos, but it's a whole different thing. And then it's like that common name that just kind of gets stuck with it. Well, a scientific name that then gets stuck with it. So for instance, like with snake plants, they have been changed from Sansevieria to Dracaena, but you still see them called Sansevieria. And they'll probably still be called Sansevieria for a very long time. So it's good to know that it used to be called Sansevieria and now it's Dracaena. So yeah, just a side note with botanical names, when they change, it takes a while for the world to catch up. So that is why you'll see them called pothos, right? Even though it's not a true pothos. In terms of care, they're less thirsty than Epiprenums, so what we consider pothos. They're less thirsty. Now they will curl. They will curl when they're thirsty. So I actually pulled mine and I put it. Where did I put it? Oh, I pulled it aside because I'm going to be watering this guy later today. But then this is great to show you what they look like when they're thirsty. So this guy's very, very parched. And so what ends up happening is that they curl. So this is what happens to the leaves. So they see how it's curled up. So the leaves, so usually the leaf is nice. So this one came damaged, but the leaf is still fine. It literally has a hole. This was mechanical damage that was caused. I guess when during shipment. And you can literally see through the hole, and the leaf is still alive and healthy and productive. So I didn't chop it off. But this is how it's supposed to look. Well, minus the damage, right? But you can see it's starting to get thirsty, so it starts to do this curl. And the reason they do this curl is to trap in as much. They release humidity, especially at night. And so they'll curl in an effort to kind of trap that humidity. But then it's a good visual indicator, like, oh gosh, yeah, oh, there's a new leaf coming out. Hold on, this vine is, so there's a new leaf coming out. So it's a good indicator that your Scindapsus is thirsty. Now this is very thirsty. So I gotta get this guy into water. I like to bottom water my Scindapsus. We have quite a few species here of Scindapsus, and I love these. This is Scindapsus. It's not the prettiest. This guy's been through it, but so this is Scindapsus officinalis, which isn't as thick as these other leaves. It's very thin, like epiprenums, like monstera leaves. It's like super, super thin. It's not as succulent. This one is thirstier than those other Scindapsus, but I tend to water these other Scindapsus about every 2 weeks. Sometimes I can stretch it past to almost 3 weeks, but about 2 weeks, and I like to bottom water them. They can handle a little bit more light, but they can get burned. So I do tend to keep them, like right now, I have a western window, and so I have these here, but there is a grow light below them. So they do get some kind of extra ambient light. And then I have others that are, gosh, this is about like 6 feet away. I have some more Scindapsus there as well from that window. So they do thrive kind of deeper in, like in the home, rather than right up against the window. But yeah, they're really easy. They're really easy. They like a well-draining soil, so they don't want a very peat heavy kind of brown muddy soil. They want a lot of drainage. So I don't recommend putting them into like a ceramic pot that has no holes, for instance, right? So for this guy, for instance, it's a nursery pot. And then there's a little root there. It's a nursery pot, and then I have kind of a little display pot that I put, and it's just easier. But you can do that, but make sure you actually have drainage holes, and when you water them, you take them out of the display pot to water them, so you don't have them sitting there in excess water, because that is one of the prime ways to kill your Scindapsus is overwatering. So that tends to be what actually kills them. I've had Scindapsus survive thrips. I've had Scindapsus survive spider mites. And they're fine. They might lose 1 or 2 leaves and they're totally fine. And they can even survive drought. So if you miss a watering and they get curly like that, give them a good watering, they open up and they're happy again. But overwatering, that's very hard to recover from. They'll start turning yellow, and the leaves will just start falling right off. It's so not very yeah. Now, in terms of is it true that pothos prop water stimulates monstera root prop? So this is a common thing, just in general with roots that are already developing in water. And so the belief behind it, I haven't seen any scientific study specifically on it, but I do hear about this very often. I mean, I have put brand new cuttings with old established cuttings as well, just to see if they do a little bit better. But the belief is that the roots that are already in water are basically releasing enzymes into the water that's promoting its root production. And so then by taking the cutting and putting it in with this established cutting that has roots already, it's kind of prompting, it's like an invitation for the cutting to start to put out roots. It's like a chemical interaction. Again, I don't know if this is legitimate. I don't know. I haven't seen any actual study on it, but that is a common practice. Would I say it's maybe faster? I mean, the plants that I have kind of put together are plants that do generally root rather quickly, like epiprenums, which are known as pothos, or Tradescantia cuttings. They tend to root very quickly anyway, so I'm not really sure if it really made too much of a difference. Scindapsus cuttings, I will say, take a very long time to root, but once they do, like the ZZ, it explodes. Like once you get one or two roots, all of a sudden you see a bunch of roots, but it takes a really long time before you see anything. It just looks like a stick in water for a really long time. But yeah, so so again, I don't know if there's if it's validated by science, but you can try it as long as the just to make sure that the cutting you are introducing to this established cutting has been thoroughly cleaned. There's no soil, there's no rot on it, because you don't want to then introduce potential pathogen, a fungus, a bacteria, to a perfectly healthy plant that's growing in water. So make sure it's very well cleaned before you introduce it, so that you don't end up accidentally harming the established plant that's already in water. Tanya, you're very, very welcome. George says the leaf match. I'll have to go back with the footage. I'm gonna try to identify Jerry's plant. So we'll see. Synth, can clevias be grown indoors? I believe you can. I've never grown one indoors, but I believe you can grow them indoors. You might have to get grow light, but I believe you can. So I believe you can grow them indoors. I've never grown one in. I've never grown one in general. No, I haven't. Let me see if I missed any. Oh, you're welcome, Sin. Let me see. Ooh, and George says that they'll bloom in the deep shade in SoCal. That's awesome. Judy, ooh, how long does it take a Hoya carnosa compacta to grow roots? Okay, so it depends. I've found that with my Hoya cuttings, if I have them in more of like a leca or pon type of mix, they just seem to root a lot faster. I'm not sure if it's really making that big of a difference, but I just feel like they root so much faster when I give them something. It could just be that I'm giving them something to their roots to cling to, and so it's a little bit more of a dramatic effect when I start to see that they're roots, because when you actually pull them, they're holding on to a bunch of the of the pon or the leca. But you can put them in water. I mean, it could take a couple weeks. It could maybe take about like 2 to 3 weeks. Like things like with like pothos, I feel like you can start seeing roots like within a week. It's very, very quick. Epiprenums, very, very quick. Who was it that I put in water recently and a root was already there? I can't remember. There was a cutting I recently put in water and it was super fast. It was super fast. It was like days. I'm trying to think of what it was. But yeah, that was like really, really fast. But with the Hoya, it can take a couple weeks, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But then once those roots are out, um, they do really, really well. The first cuttings in water. I think it's just like Pon or Leca might do a little bit better. I do have quite a few of my Hoya in Pon and in Leca, so um, I do recommend that if you're going to go with water propagating Hoyas, one of those substrates. So either because I have both, like I'll even grab as an example this one and this one. Oh, I just saw another Lego piece. Okay. I spotted another Lego piece heading into the kitchen. So gosh, he really broke that. So this is a Hoya that I have that is in Leca. There's like some old residual perlite that was in there too. But this is Leca. This is a hybrid. It's kind of the Rosita. I think it's the Hoya Rosita. And this one is just in Leca. Again, a couple pieces of perlite in there, but they're really not making much of a difference. Its majority is Leca. And this is actually a glass stir. I got a pack of these. They're used in chemistry sets. And I actually purchased these because I thought these would be great for my water propagations, because some of my water propagations, I wanted to stake them. But what I was using was bamboo. So bamboo is pretty water resistant, but after a while, it can start to either start to mold or it starts to kind of change, get discolored. And I was like, this doesn't work. Now, it's not clinging to it. It's not going to grow on top of it. But right now, it's just now starting to put a couple aerial roots out. But before it was just a with nothing. It just started getting aerial roots. So I might upgrade this into something it can actually hold on to. But if you just have a cutting that you kind of just want to organize up on something, these glass stirrers are really great option. They're reusable. It's something I can disinfect. So I really liked that option. So just passing that along in case that's helpful. But yeah, this guy is just in Leca. But then this one, and this one is the Sarajonoensis. Sarajonoensis and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Sarah Sarajonoensis. I think that's what it is. This guy is in Pon. And so this is a self-watering pot. There really is barely any water in there. You can see some of the roots there. And it's just Pon. But I just give it a little squirt with the squirt bottle. And the bottom, the inner part doesn't go all the way to the bottom. It goes up to about here. And yeah, I just give it a check, make sure it's not like fully full of water. It's just like a teensy little bit in there. And about every 2 weeks or so, I give it a little spritz to kind of wet down the pond, and then that's it. So a lot of my Hoyas are like this, are in kind of these types of substrates, and they tend to do so much better. So I do recommend trying to kind of explore with these substrates if you do have them accessible. Yeah, because they're great. They're growing really happily there. So I do recommend it. Gosh, these leaves are dusty. I gotta give these guys a little clean. But yeah, these I love these types of Hoyas. Just these leaves. I really like them in the venation. It's just a really neat Hoya. And this one too. This one you can't really see the veins, but it has it's like very soft to the touch. It has like a velvety feel. And when in the summer, this gets sun stressed. So right now it looks kind of like a dark green, but in the summer it gets this kind of like a rosy look to it, kind of like a coppery kind of all along the edges. It looks really, really pretty. I have seen them more sun stressed as well, but I just like where it gets like the little touch of copper. But I do like that deep green, and on the back it's actually a lighter green. Really pretty plant. But yeah, I like Hoyas a lot. I went through a what do they call them? Hoya heads. Hoya heads. And so I went, was it last year or the year before? I think it was the year before last. I went through a phase. I was buying many species of Hoya. So I tend to do that. I'll get into a specific group of plants like Ripsalis. I think Ripsalis and Euphorbia, that has stayed with me. I still, anytime I see a Euphorbia I don't have, I grab it. But with Hoya, definitely I went through that phase. I went through that phase with peperomia as well. I bought so many different species of peperomia. I still have quite a few. I think I prefer the succulent types of peperomia. I have quite a few behind me. Those I think ended up being my favorite, were the more succulent types, like the incanas and the like the string bean and the happy bean, and those I really like those peperomia. They're a little bit more odd. I don't think I can keep up with the watering for the caparatas, so the frost and the ripples and things like that. I can't water them fast enough. They get very thirsty very quickly, sometimes more than once a week, and if I don't catch it, and they dry up very quickly. So yeah. And there's two more questions here. So Tanya, old yellowing leaves on my Monstera deliciosa. Should I cut it at the stem? Oh, sorry. Should I cut at the leaf or the stem when a new leaf bump starting to form on that dying leaf stem? Great question. So if you do start to see that a new leaf is growing from like the base of that stem, don't cut the stem just yet. You can go ahead and cut just the leaf if you want. You can leave the leaf if it's just that the leaf is just dying back and it's not like actively rotting. It's not dying because it's affected by like a fungus or anything like that. You can kind of let it shrivel up. You can do that, especially if there's a new leaf growing. You don't want to mess with it. Like for instance, that is actually what happened with this is I think our Paraíso Verde. Yeah, Paraíso Verde. So this guy, let me see. He's very large. He has a bunch of big leaves, but he has these really long stems. But here, so you could see that this stem had a leaf and it actually broke off. But we left the stem because it was pushing out new growth on top. So I didn't want to kind of mess with that right now. So I just took so the leaf was just was fine. I left it instead of cutting it back. And it actually this weekend, it just, I'm trying to lower it here. It just opened up this leaf and there's another leaf on the way. So I'm going to wait till that leaf comes out and then I'll take this off. But it's yellowing from here, but the base is still green. So it's kind of diverting all of that moisture and nutrients back into the stem. So if it's not actively rotting, if it's not harming the plant, I tend to leave them until they either shrivel up or it looks like the whole thing gets yellow and then it's good to go. And I could just literally tap it and it comes right off. That means the plant itself has created what is known as an abscission layer. It kind of amputates, it kind of creates like a scar tissue so that it kind of closes that wound. If you do it like fresh, I feel like you can rip, I kind of don't want to, I don't like to do too much of that, so I just kind of wait. So I tend to do that. Now, if it was like an infection, like the leaf was rotten or something like that, I would tell you definitely remove that as soon as possible. But if it is pushing out new growth, no reason to. You can, whoops, there we go. It's sitting on my desk right now. That Paraíso Verde was over here by our closet. And then the leaf got broken off, and I said, let me just put it on my desk to be safe. And then it started shooting out. I noticed those little leaf stalks. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna leave it here and leave that stem there. So far, so good. Brenda's asking if I use a light meter, and if yes, is there a brand I recommend? I don't use a light meter, but I do have, where is my phone? Where is my phone? Where is my phone? Where is my phone? Oh, it's over here. Let me see. There we go. So I don't have a light meter. There are let me see here. There are a few apps. So I used to use this one. Now I do have a light meter actually. Well, because I have a moisture meter that has a light meter incorporated in it. But I don't have like a traditional regular light meter. I was using, there are apps that you can buy on your phone that you can actually open up your phone camera in the app, and it will actually measure the lumen, so the light, or also foot candles, depending on what you're using. It will measure the light for you. This one that I had, it looks like right now it's no longer free. So I opened it up, and it's literally called Light Meter, and now it's saying that it's $1.99 a month now if I want to continue, or $7.99 one-time purchase. But I have used this one previously. It was called Light Meter. Let me see if I can. Oh, I exited out of that, and it looks like I can actually still use it. But yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like, and you open up your camera and it measures that light for you. Yeah, and it has the option for your front or back camera and indoor or outdoor measurements. So there are some free apps. I guess there's now some that have paid options, but it was free that you can use. And this was helpful. This was very helpful. The one that I have that's the moisture meter that has the light meter in it, I don't really use it for that purpose. It's more of just the moisture meter, and I use it for like the plants that I have that are really deep. So I have only a couple that are plants that are in pots that are like really like a foot deep. And so I can't necessarily stick my finger in to just see if it really needs any extra moisture if I don't recall when I last watered it. So the moisture meter allows me to do that. So it's like these two prongs, if you're not familiar, in case, and you kind of shove it in there, and it tells you whether or not the soil is damp or if it's dry. So, and it has a light meter incorporated in it. So I haven't actively used it for that purpose though. But I mean, I think the apps work really, really well. If you're looking specifically for an actual like really good light meter, I'm not aware of any brands, but I am aware that it can be rather expensive. So I have seen some in the past when I was first looking at light meters, even like $200 or so, $300 for like a top of the line light meter. So I think for me, like the phone app worked pretty well. Yeah, so so I don't know a specific brand to kind of point you in the direction of it right now, but yeah, it can get very expensive. So yeah, unfortunately. But all right, that was the last question. Okay, it's 1:04, so then I will hop off. But thanks so much for joining me. Seriously, always a fun thing to start my week with. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in. And yeah, shoot me a message if anything on Facebook, or an email if any of these like titles, the book titles, anything like that. I'll drop them in the Facebook. In the Facebook group, the book, the Encyclopedia on Wildflowers, is already on there, but I'll drop the jigsaw puzzle and the plant lore book as well with the link to the PDF of the plant lore book, because that is available for free. So if you're just interested in the inside of the book, you don't care about having a physical copy of it, then that link will take you directly to the book itself, and then the jigsaw puzzle. So if anyone is interested in that, and let me know if anyone is interested in like a list of games. Maybe I'll just make one anyway, so that I have it readily available if folks do want it. But yeah, so thanks so much everyone for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, the rest of your week. I can't believe tomorrow, right, is the last day of January. Geez, that was really fast. So I will see you next week. Yeah, for class. And yeah, I'm trying to think. I'll check. Someone had asked for a specific class, and I will look back at the footage to see what that was. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I will check. But yeah, I will see you next week. Have a great one, everyone. Bye for now.